Oh, all right. Hello, hello. Chainsaw Man chapter 194 came out today, and we are going to talk about it. Rather than my usual summary to start off the stream, I actually want to get right into what I think is probably the biggest plot hole in the whole series so far, which is Yoshida saying that the Death Devil is going to arrive within the next month. And that doesn't sound right at all. Because the Nostradamus' prophecy says that the Death Devil is coming in July. And the last time we had like a confirmation of how long ago or how much further the Death Devil is away from its descent, it's when Barum started the Chainsaw Apocalypse, where he said that the Great King of Terror is going to arrive in half a year. And after that, Denji fights Barum at his house. He gets knocked out. He falls asleep for a week before getting cut into pieces. So, in actuality, like right now, we should be around January or February of 1999. But apparently, we are now in June somehow. So this doesn't really make any sense at all. Um, I guess you can maybe let me try to think because Nayuta's head was also like super fresh when it came out when it was shown to Denji. So by the time that Denji was reattached, it can't be too many months. It can't be like months away from when Denji was captured. And also Asa and Fami like rescued Denji pretty much immediately after Denji was dismembered because the devil hunter that was guarding Denji was still there. So overall, the timeline doesn't make a lot of sense either. Maybe you can argue that they were in the aging devil's world and the time in the real world is distorted. But this chapter also disproves that because Denji was watching a news report on Yoru's finger gun destruction. So there's really no possible way that like we're in June already. Um the only other explanation is that because Yoru and Fami have killed so much, the Death Devil is descending a lot sooner than expected. But they didn't really say anything about that. And we, or at least I myself, am under the assumption that Nostradamus' prophecy is from the future devil, which means that that is going to come true no matter what. So I don't know, but I feel this really isn't the first timeline mistake that Fujimoto has made in part two. Because in a earlier chapter, like right after the Falling Devil's descent, or the Falling Devil's attack on Asa, Fami visits Asa and Yoru to recruit them to the church. And we see a calendar in the background that says June. But then, after that, about a month at least passes, and we see Barum says it's like January or December. So overall, I think Fujimoto just not that attentive towards the chronological order of events. Uh, but yeah, talk more about this maybe if you guys have any like takes on that. But moving on to the summary of the chapter. Denji wakes up early, or rather, he couldn't sleep to begin with because the previous night was very arousing for him. Denji sees Yoru's very perky nipples, but like a gentleman, he refrains himself from touching them and puts a blanket over her. Denji sees the news about Yoru's finger gun destruction towards the city, only about 5,000 people are dead, which is actually not that bad, all things considered. Denji goes to the kitchen of the restaurant that they took over, and he started making some gyoza. And then he comments to Pochita that he is in danger because another dangerous lady is into him. And we cut to Yoshida, Fumiko, and Fami on the bench having a conversation. We just talked about the timeline issue here. But then Yoshida tells Fami that they have a couple requests for her to help out with over the next month. Fami responds by saying that she can't because she'll be busy on that day, which isn't really a good response because Yoshida is asking her to help out between now until the same day of the next month. So Fami being busy on the day of the Death Devil's arrival doesn't really have any roadblocks for helping them out currently. So I guess she just really doesn't want to help them out. Fami says that she is going to join her school's school festival and help out with the setup of it. So I guess, yeah, because this part 2 is technically called the Academy arc. Most of it have not taken place in a academy, so I guess we're going back to that. Fami says that she has friends and it's fun, and I guess she wants to live in the moment, which is what a college kid with very wealthy parents would say. And then she says that she hung out with Denji, Asa, and Yoru because they were fun, or rather their puzzled expressions were fun. This is also very puzzling for me as well because I went back right before the stream to check out all the chapters, and pretty much the only time Fami has ever talked to Denji was telling him about his contract with Pochita and how it can be broken and replaced. And I guess Denji was pretty puzzled on why she knows all that, so not really a contradiction there, but still a pretty weird statement because it really doesn't seem like she's having any fun at all. But anyways, Fami's friends from school comes to pick her up. Literally, they carry her off to karaoke, I guess. Presumably, her friends don't know that she's killed about 30, 40, 400,000 people. So that's the end of that scene, with Yoshida being sad that he is apparently not fun to be around. Anyways, we cut back to Denji and Yoru, who is showing Denji, she's flexing to Denji her finger gun by blasting already destroyed buildings, putting holes in them. Denji is amused, and then Asa returns to her body, points her finger gun at Denji, who understands that he is in trouble. So that's the end of the chapter. Overall, I have big issues with the whole timeline thing, because I feel that if there's still like half a year between now until the Death Devil's arrival, that would be like a decent amount of time to build up more plot relevant things, or build upon like the world building, how the world's reacting to all that stuff like that. Because on the side note, I think this chapter marks the official note that like part 2 passes part 1 in terms of the number of chapters. Part 1 had 97 chapters. Part 2, we're at either, I think, officially 97 now. It started at 98, and we're now at 194. So, yeah, so I think we're also at 97 chapters now. Uh, and, I think there's a lot of mm, unexplained things, a lot of elaborations that we can do, a lot of character development, character interactions that can go on for the next half a year that we should be having, but that is now instead cut to 1 month, which is, aside from just being like plot breaking, I just would prefer if there's more time for the characters to mesh with each other. Um, Otherwise, Fami's statements are kind of weird as well. You would think she's probably lying to Yoshida. She got other plans going on, but there's also a chance that she's just very genuine about all that. Whatever, it's all right. Um, I guess Fujimoto showing us that Fami has friends. We don't know all there is to know about Fami. Ta-da-da. I don't really know what to make of this. I guess maybe it's showing us that Fami has confidence in Yoru and Asa's thing that she's helped set up um, to counter the Death Devil, maybe. I don't know. Or maybe she's assuming that Yoru will just naturally turn Denji into a chainsaw to fight the Death Devil. Because she did promise to do that if Denji himself can't beat the Death Devil. So, I don't know. Pa pa pa. Let me see if you guys have any input. Nayuta and Fami parallel, they both mentioned school as a reason to not help. Yes, that's a good point. Yeah, that is a good point, because when Nayuta said that to Fami, Fami was confused, or she was a bit baffled by that answer, whereas now she's giving the Sam answer to Yoshida. So I guess in a way you can call that character development, but also it's like we don't really see any of it. So my line of thinking is that maybe Fujimoto originally planned for part 2 to be a lot more stretched out, but then for whatever reason doesn't really work out. But he just kept some elements of what he's planned to, like, as if he's never written them out. Because that's also my line of thinking as far as Yoshida and Fami's supposed rivalry were concerned. Because in the early parts of part 2, Yoshida and Fami have like a little stare down rivalry going on. They have a little contrasting of like ideas and plans, but now they're seemingly working together with the exact same plan and goal. So it's like, I feel there was a lot more planned than what we got. But yeah, that's a good point where Nayuta and Fami have this contrasting going on, or parallel going on, where she's saying the similar excuses for not helping out. Fami never seemed like she's having fun, but it's nice to find out that she is. I don't know if it's nice to find out that she is, because she is killing a lot of people. And I feel it is a little irresponsible to just be like YOLO and then, just go off to do her own stuff. It is a little weird because she did a lot of preparation for the day of the Death Devil's descent, and now she's not going to participate in it. So I'm not sure. Maybe her mindset is that she's done all she could. Like, she's just gonna relax, YOLO on the last day and see what happens. Like if you put all your life saving onto a random stock, forget your portfolio, and then come back like 10 years later. Let me see. A month feels short, but we don't know how Fujimoto is gonna play with it. It would want more time though. Yes. I mean, yeah, like canonically, like the past 40 chapters happens in like a span of a week or two. Unless Fujimoto can like come up with some really good retcon for this. So, amount of chapters spent doesn't really reflect like how much time passes chronologically. But I do think that the passage of time was a bit of an issue in part one as well. And that we still not really sure how much time Denji spent with Aki and Power. We have like a rough idea, but no, never like a confirmation. Because as far as we know, like the first time we ever got a date was when the Gun Devil attacked Japan, attacked Makima, and then it was actually a really cool moment because that was like when a lot of the audience learned that they're actually set in 1997 and not like the present day, which made a lot of the technology in the series make sense, and that they were driving like 80s styled cars. The buildings are kind of 80s, 90s styled. No one has a cell phone. No one has, modern day technology. So that was a really cool moment at the time. Let's see. Fami saying she wants to savor her friends make me think like Makima. She will enjoy seeing her friends' happiness as they are horrified by the Death Devil. Yes, because her reason for that might be true because her reasoning for liking Denji and Asa and Yoru is that they are always confused. So in a way, she is suggesting that she takes pleasure in their suffering, or not suffering at least, but like their lack of knowledge, or maybe even their suffering too, because she did orchestrate Barum showing Denji Nayuta's head. So who knows what her mentality is. Let's see. Fami and her friends remind me of the way she enjoys food, with it being more of a moment to moment thing. Yeah. Her diet is reflective of YOLO. If I eat like her, I'll probably be dead by the time I'm like 35. But then again, I'm American. That's our way of life. Let's see. It makes me think Fami will savor people's misery as their festival will turn to mayhem. Yes, because again, part two is called Academy Arc, and outside of like the first 20 chapters, almost none of it took place in the Academy. So I think it would like for the title Academy Arc to really make sense, it would have to like circle around to the academy, the school at the end. So I guess maybe Denji's fight with the Death Devil will take place in school, bring a close to Academy Arc. Let's see. If Fami cared about her friends, she wouldn't have caused the school destruction caused by Asa's friend via the Justice Devil. Yeah, she did set off Yuko on her school twice potentially. Because you can even argue that the first time Yuko got like transformed by the Justice Devil, that was also Fami's plan, because she controls the Justice Devil. So she could have targeted Yuko specifically because she became friends with Asa. But again, she it was in this chapter. I don't think I captured the panel, but she also said, because Fumiko asked her, "Don't you care about your friends? Because if they die, if the Death Devil comes, they're going to die. Which Fami responds with YOLO. So she doesn't seem like she actually cares about the well-being of her friends. She just cares about spending time with them, spending meaningful time with them. So definitely some lack of empathy on her part. I think this is when Fumiko asked about her friends, which is ironic coming from Fumiko because she doesn't seem like she particularly cares about the well-beings of other people either. But Fami says she lives to savor. She lives in the moment. She YOLOs. So yeah, that's who she is. Let's see. Makima and Yoru like seeing humans in fear. Fami should be no different. Yes, that could be like a implicit trait for devils. But then again, when Nayuta fought the people, the civilians, she did think to herself that she doesn't enjoy hurting people as much as she thought she would. So whether that's because that devils are not always implicitly malevolent, or because Denji's parenting caused her to be that way, there's a question that's not answered yet. Let's see. Let me see if I can find a panel where Nayuta's saying that she doesn't like killing. Give me like 5 seconds. But yeah, so yeah. So it may not be completely, like maybe devils aren't always born violent. Let's see. Yoru says she likes seeing Denji suffer. She did say that, and I think an argument against that could be that Yoru's not entirely being honest with her feelings, because when she first kisses him, I think it's more like a comforting him thing rather than seeing him be pathetic. She's being a very advanced tsundere. Let's see. Even the first chapter, Justice Devil possessed the jealous schoolmates. Yoru said we'll see all major devils when death descends. I'm calling it Bucky will return for the Death Devil arc. Yeah, that's a real possibility, because in the promo artwork for the first chapter of part 2, Bucky was standing right behind Asa holding a Denji chainsaw, or holding a Pochita chainsaw. And in the promo art for the very first chapter of Chainsaw Man, it's Denji holding a chainsaw with Makima's face reflected on it, which ended up happening when he cut her down at the end of part 1. So I do think Bucky's probably going to come back in some way eventually. Let's see. The first interesting thing Fami has said. Yeah, I don't know if that's the first interesting thing for her in general, but I think that's like the first glance that we have at her personality, because she really hasn't said much at all so far. Let's see. If Fami cared about the school, she wouldn't have used the Justice Devil to possess them. Yes. Yeah, she doesn't care so much about the people as the moment, the experience. And I guess if I did like a video a week or two ago. I think it's only been a week on like the memories of devils and how the some of them can like remember more from their previous reincarnations eventually. So I guess maybe in this case for Fami, she would be having have lived for like thousands of years, millions of years even, maybe. So that she for her this even if the world is destroyed as long as she remembers, it doesn't really matter for her. Pa, pa, pa. Let's see. Bucky is the best example of a devil being good. Same for Angel. Add Beam. Um, I'm trying to think of devils that weren't like completely destructive. The Violence Fiend was overall pretty solid. Bu- bu- bu. I think that's about it as far as devils that are like inherently nice. I was gonna say the future devil, but the future devil also like actively manipulates people to like he actively leads people into like bad futures. So not really. Um yeah. Let's see, people are catching on to Bucky propaganda. Yes. I, one critique I unironically have is that we don't see any more of Bucky. Because right now, I'm still not sure what is the narrative purpose for Bucky. Because there was one time that Asa dreams of like stepping on dead chickens, and that was okay. I get that, but it's like, I feel like if that's it, it's a bit disappointing. I would like to see more Bucky. Speaking of chicken devils, though, I feel like right now, like the power level of a chicken devil in the real world would be a lot higher than it usually is because there is a massive bird avian plague, chicken plague. I think something like half the chickens in a lot of the U.S. farms are just being executed because they've been infected. So if there's ever a time for Bucky, this would be it. I think Fami want the food stall to eat while the world's being destroyed by the Death Devil. Yes, I can definitely see that. I can see like an imagery of Fami sitting on a lawn chair eating like takoyaki or like the what do you call it? The yakisoba or whatever food Japanese school festivals usually have. Future wants to see misery. He uses powers to make that misery possible. Yeah, yeah. Well, I talked about this in I think also one of my last videos where I think he actively gave Nostradamus the visions, and this is also why I feel like the Death Devil isn't going to come on like months that aren't July. Like I don't feel like the Death Devil is gonna come early because I think the Future Devil gave Nostradamus these visions, and the Future Devil's visions are usually true. At least the miserable ones are, they do come true. Ba, ba, ba. Let's see. Future, we already read that. Pochita was absent for most of part one until he talks to Power. I bet Bucky will do the same thing and show up at the end. Oh yeah, that's a good prediction actually. Um, the only thing is like Bucky and Asa's relationship aren't really that deep. Like Denji known Pochita for 10 years, whereas Bucky and Asa were really cool for like a minute. Like the moment Asa came around on Bucky, she crushed him to death. So their relationship aren't really like one that's built on trust and, you know, friendship. It's more like Asa's guilt. Mm, bu- 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 bu. Maybe the Ghost Devil was decent, but we didn't give her much. She did give Aki a cigarette. Yeah, that's actually one of these things like overall that I can't really give a concrete explanation on why she did that. I guess maybe Himeno set like a trigger on her death to do that whenever the Ghost Devil meets Aki. Doesn't make too much sense because that don't seem like something that a devil would agree to do. Or maybe she just used the very, very last bit of her energy for that. But then, yeah, I guess. I don't know. It's one of those things that I never thought too deeply about the mechanics of what happened. It would be funny if, like, power chicken can be super powerful thanks to the avian flu. Yeah, yeah, for sure. Cause the cockroach devils are like the cockroach devil was freaking huge. He was like a skyscraper tall. And honestly, if you were like come up to me, you have chicken in your left hand and a cockroach on your right hand, and be like, hey, you gotta fight one of them. I'll fight the cockroach. I'd rather fight a cockroach than I would fight a chicken. I feel like chicken has actual capabilities of like hurting me. Whereas cockroaches, they're annoying, they're gross, they might bring me disease, but then so can chickens. So personally, I fight a chicken over the cockroach. I feel like the chicken devil should be the one that's like 10 feet tall. Blood Devil wasn't powerful until her potential was unlocked. Well, the Blood Devil was even like as a fiend, because the fiend is like a less powerful devil. It's like restricted to a human corpse, and even then, Makima has to periodically drain blood from power to keep her at a controllable level. So I think the power that we saw at the end of part one, the power that like freed Denji from Makima, that was probably the more viable representation of what the Blood Fiend, Blood Devil would be at full strength. If Bucky and Power shows up together, I'd cry. Bucky, maybe. I think Power isn't going to be. Because I did a video on Nayuta, like regaining her memory and then being Denji's sister once again. But then that's also kind of like a recycle of what Power asked Denji to do. So I feel if Fujimoto's gonna go with like what I suggested in Power coming, or not Power, and Nayuta coming back to be Denji's sister again, then Power's character would have to be significantly different from that to not like overlap with the same narrative setup. But yeah, we'll see what happens eventually. On the last panel, that was Asa, right? That was Asa. And that's the first time that we saw Asa in like 2 months, I think. Similar to Blood, Chicken does have the potential to be powerful at Salmonella to the fear of chicken. Yeah. Like, yeah, raw chicken can be deadly for sure. When I was in college, we had this food court. They make chicken sometimes, and for a while, it just come out raw every time. It wasn't good. Let's see if we have any more comments for the week. But yeah, overall, the chapter, I don't know. I feel the chapter gives me more questions than it actually answers. And I was personally offended at Fami's response to Yoshida's request because Yoshida asked her to help out for like the next month. She's like, I'm busy that day. He didn't even tell her what day it was. She's busy that day. But yeah. So, okay. So, like, essentially stop Yoru for destroying Denji. Well, there's a possibility that she's taking over Yoru to destroy Denji because she sees Denji as a dangerous person for humanity. Because, Denji's acting very nonchalant, even encouraging Yoru to kill people to a degree. And I did a video recently on, not that recent, like a month ago. Hasn't been a month, but it's on like Denji's lack of empathy towards humanity at this point. He did once say that, he doesn't really discriminate between devils and humans. He would just pick the side that treats him better. And right now, he thinks of Yoru as his only friend, so we can assume that he's probably leaning towards more the devil's side. And also, most of his friends were devils to begin with. Pochita, Power, Beam, if you want to count him. See, Denji hasn't even gave the old chef a burial. Alright, to be fair, I wouldn't either, because they're on, like, the 5th floor. If you were to give him a proper burial, you have to take, like, both parts of him, his upper body and his legs, separately, go down, like, 5 floors, find a hole to put him in, go back up. It's just a lot of work, and people might be suspicious of you if you carry, like, a bisected corpse around with you. Even despite their current political climate, it's still a bit suspicious. And also, it would get his shirt dirty. He has one shirt. He's been wearing the same tank top for like the last 50 chapters. Pa, pa, pa. It's not hygienic. At least throw it outside. Oh, that's a good point. In that he's literally eating on top of the dead chef, and in some way you can say that's quite disrespectful, because they break into the guy's restaurant, they shoot the guy, and then they eat while his corpse is observing them. So it is a little rude to just be eating after killing the guy. Like if I was the ramen chef, I would be placing 1,000 curses on both of them. So yeah, quite rude. Let's see, Denji desperate for anyone. Yes, the funny thing is, in part one, Denji had more standards than he does now. Because in part one, Denji also kind of he always recognized that Makima was trying to manipulate him, and even turned her down to stay with Power. So, I guess it's like, as Denji's living conditions gets worse, his standards become slower. Hygiene isn't really a priority. They've both had the same clothes on for a while. Well, it's not really the length of time that's the concern, because again, canonically, Denji's been out of the devil hunting facility for like a day. So he's been wearing that tank top for like, what, 2 days maybe? And I've worn clothes, the same shirt for like 2 days at times. So that's not really the big deal, but the blood, that's more of a concern. He has dried blood of a lot of people on him. And that shirt is surprisingly clean for how much people dying has been happening around him. I suspect Fujimoto just giving him a tank top because he doesn't want to like color in real clothing. Ta. The devil in them is dirty. The devil in them is dirty. Well, well, I guess when Denji turned into Pochita, he was surrounded by like a bunch of guts, a bunch of intestines. So you would think I don't know like how the physics of Pochita taking over him works, but like if they were actual guts, you would have a lot of residual slime of the intestine fluids on him, which is not hygienic. But yeah, overall, kind of mm, it's not a fun chapter in that I like talking about it because a lot of it is just me pointing out the plot hole in the timeline. And one thing for me is I really value the consistency in the chronological order of events, which is why I like Freerun so much. I think it's really good because and I think a lot of people like respect it because it's really the first big manga to like consistently have a solid chronological order of events. Whereas like One Piece, really long, but then when you think about it, the timeline is kind of crammed into like a really short period of time. So what makes a manga good in my opinion is like a passage of time, a proper consistent passage of time. Whereas this kind of frustrates me a bit. And again, Fami's excuse triggers me. I feel like a real person saying that to me makes me upset. But yeah, that's about all I've got for this week. Uh, but yeah, thanks for commenting, and then I'll see you guys next week, because there is a chapter next week. I lied like 2 weeks ago. I said there was a chapter next week. There was not. I think I'm having trouble reading the calendar. February always confused me in general.